we will be starting today's session. Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to the third session of our lecture series, Expert Talks. Today, I am glad as we have with us Professor Abhishek Patange sir from Department of Mechanical Engineering. Today, he will be sharing us the valuable information on application of AI ML in mechanical engineering. Please join me in welcoming Professor Abhishek Patange sir. Sir is currently working as an assistant professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering at Government College of Engineering Pune, COEP. Along with this, he is pursuing a PhD at Mechanical Engineering from VIT Vellore. He has submitted PhD thesis there. Sir had pursued MTech in Mechanical Design Engineering and BTech in Mechanical Engineering from our own college, COEP. The academic and research domains in which he has developed expertise belongs to the application of machine learning, machine health monitoring, artificial intelligence for fault diagnosis, mechanical design engineering, and mechatronics. His doctoral research is based on the application of machine learning for the health monitoring of multi-point cutting tools on VMC. He is working as a member of the syllabus setting committee formed by the BOS chairman Mechanical SPPU for the newly introduced course AIML. He is serving as a member incorporated engineer of Institution of Mechanical Engineers, London, United Kingdom. Within just 6 years of his graduation, he is about to get an award of doctorate and has published over 20 journal papers. SCI and Scopus indexed. He has received two Best Papers Awards in international conferences held by IIT Madras and Beltech University. He believes project-based learning can only match the expectation of the modern-day students. Hence, he always incorporates project-based learning, industry-oriented teaching modules, case studies, which make students more interesting. Along with this, his interest in research activities helps students for undertaking creative projects, publications, etc. He has guided 10 UG students on projects related to application of ML and presented more than 10 papers in various international conferences and communicated to journals publications in the pipeline. He has delivered many guest lectures on the topic related to application of ML in various organizations. Now I request you, sir, to please take over.
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction. I request Vaishnavi to share the screen so that I can start with my presentation. I hope I'm clearly audible to everyone.
Yes,
Vaishnavi,
sir,
can you share
you
the
are
screen?
audible.
Yes, sir. Just a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it visible, sir?
Not yet.
Okay, let me try.
Yeah. Go to the presentation mode.
Yeah, sir. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
sir.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Okay. So let me thank Club Metablock of College of Engineering Pune for giving me this opportunity to deliver the presentation on applications of AI and ML in mechanical engineering. Since I'm working on this particular domain from like last 4 to 5 years, I'll be delivering more about how AI and ML is applied in mechanical engineering, how the model is built, rather than explaining the algorithms of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Go to next slide. So the contents of my presentation are, I'm going to introduce AI and ML in the beginning slides, where the insight of AI and ML, that is artificial intelligence and machine learning, will be introduced. Then I'll be explaining various blocks of ML based models, where we have to start with the data collection, then the processing of that data, presentation of that data analytics, and lastly building a ML based model for either prediction or for classification. Then I'm going to introduce how AI and ML is applied in mechanical engineering with various applications such as smart health monitoring of machine elements or rotatory machines. Then image-based classification of nut, bolts, washers, and locating pins. The third will be deep reinforced learning for active flow control, basically which is from fluid mechanics or fluid dynamics domain. Then the next is material discovery and design using machine learning. And lastly, ML-based supply chain management. And then at the last, I'm going to discuss the challenges in the AI and ML so that the research in the futuristic trends will be carried out with respect to these challenges. Go to the next slide. So basically, artificial intelligence is nothing but a branch of computer engineering that deals with building of smart machines capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. Try to understand the basic difference between AI and automation. In automation, the complete program will be developed by a human being or we can say an operator, starting from the input to output. Whereas in artificial intelligence and machine learning, the program will be developed or trained itself by the algorithms or machines. That is why it is called as artificial intelligence and machine learning. So, four different approaches that historically defined in the field of AI are thinking humanly, then thinking rationally, and then acting humanly and rationally. So, try to understand the meaning of thinking and acting. So, thinking is nothing but the processing of the data, and with some logics, you have to think what to do with that particular data. And after the thinking, you can apply it for to perform some action. So the things which are done by human beings previously, that means thinking and acting, now being replaced by machines. That is why it is considered as thinking humanly and thinking rationally. And then we have to act humanly and act rationally. So these all tasks now being performed by machines. That is why it is called as various approach of artificial intelligence. Go to next slide. So what is machine learning? So machine learning is nothing but it is the technique of predicting the future or classifying the information with the help of people in making necessary decisions. Basically, artificial intelligence is used for predictive modeling. Predictive modeling is being carried in two ways. One is regression and another one is classification. Regression is used when you have to predict a continuous value, or if you want to predict whether for next 4 years, or like temperature for next 4 years, or such continuous values, then you have to go with regression where the continuous value will be predicted. On the other hand, classification is nothing but prediction of a discrete class or discrete category. So classification is nothing but if you want to predict, if you want to identify, if you suppose if you have 10 types of flowers or 10 types of fruits, and if you want to identify all 10 kinds of foods or flowers, then you can go with the classification problem. As far as mechanical engineering is concerned, classification deals with prediction of a particular fault induced in particularly machine components or rotating machineries. The classification problem is used. So basically, in short, machine learning is nothing but study of computer algorithms that improve automatically through experience and by with the use of the data set. So if you see the flow here, the ordinary system, when integrated with artificial intelligence, then it is considered to be a machine learning. And when the machine learning is applied to model some system or predicting the performance of system, it starts with learning from the available data. Then it predicts either a continuous value or a class, and then it improves with the experience. So this is the basic idea behind the machine learning. Go to next slide. So various types of machine learning are considered to be in three ways. One is supervised learning, another one is unsupervised learning, and third one is reinforcement learning. Let us start with supervised learning. as it is written here that in supervised learning, machine learns from training data. So in this particular kind of machine learning, the machine learning task of learning functions that has to map the input with the output with the use of pair of input output. That means here in this problem, the data set on which we are going to train our model is labeled. That means the class or the category which we want to classify, their labels are known. This is very clear and distinct mapping of input and output. Based on the example inputs, the model is able to get trained in the instances. A very good example of supervised learning is filtering various kinds of emails, such as, like, we know the types of emails as primary type of email, social type of emails, promotion types of emails, and spams. So this is all classification of emails is based on supervised learning, because based on labeled data, the model is able to determine if the data is spam or not, and if the data is spam, then the email will be categorized in the spam folder. So this is very easier type of learning. And even the spam filtering is a very good example of machine learning algorithms in kind of supervised learning. So what I mean to say is the characteristics of primary emails, social emails, promotion emails, and spam emails are well defined with respect to their characteristics, and the machine learning algorithm is trained. Then that trained algorithm will be tested when, if suppose any kind of email from all four these categories comes into your inbox, then its classification will be done according to its characteristic. When the email is classified in spam folder, that means the email which has been categorized in the spam folder matches the characteristics of that spam kind of emails, and that is why it has been categorized to that particular domain. So this is about supervised learning. In unsupervised learning, we really don't know the labels of the output. Instead, it allows the model to figure it on its own patterns and knowledge that has been previously undetected. So that means it deals with basically with unlabeled data, where the data has no labels. So the algorithm itself identifies the patterns within the data sets, and then it learns according to those patterns. So very good example of unsupervised learning is that if we take example of categorization of various fruits, then if we suppose if we have three fruits, like one is apple, another one is banana, and another one is orange. So based on the color and the shape of a fruit, so here the patterns, or we can say the characteristics, are considered to be a color, suppose. So the machine learning algorithm itself, it will identify the color, and then it will be categorized with respect to those color and the corresponding fruits. So if the apple is supposed to be in red color, so red color fruits are considered to be the apple, and those will be categorized in the apple class. When the color banana color is considered, so it is yellow. So all fruits which belongs to yellow color will be classified as banana. So now you can say, the fruit other than banana which has yellow color will also be classified. Yes, correct. So at that moment you have to consider characteristics. So at this point, if the color of two fruits is same, then you can go for the next pattern, or characteristics, the shape of that particular fruit. So if shape of that particular fruit is fixed, like some of with range of some dimension, then the two fruits with yellow color will be classified with respect to dimension of that particular fruit. So this is how unsupervised learning works. The next is reinforcement learning. So in reinforcement learning, as it is said that machine learns on its own. So basically it is an emerging and most popular type of machine learning algorithm, where it is used in autonomous systems like cars and industrial robots. The main aim of reinforcement learning is that in dynamic environment, it has to reach to its goal or target, and then it can be, with this process, it can reach to the goal based on several rewards that are provided to the system time to time. So basically, this considered to be a closed loop machine learning approach, where the rewards are considered to be the feedback, and based on that feedback, the output will be corrected. The input will be corrected, and hence the output will be automatically corrected. So it is most heavily used in programming robots to perform autonomous actions. It is also used in making the intelligent self-driving cars. Go to the next slide. Okay, so here also the types of machine learning approaches and even the in detail methods are given. So in classification, the applications can be considered as fraud detection.
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir. Hello. Please wait, don't go. Sir will be coming in 5 minutes. There is some technical issue.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir. Yes,
okay. Sorry for the trouble. So I was
Okay,
explaining
sir.
the applications of unsupervised learning. So in reinforcement learning, the gaming and finance sector, even in manufacturing and inventory management, the reinforcement learning is used because the main application of reinforcement learning is, since it is the open, closed loop machine learning type. So its use in industry is very much. It is used in industry in very much problem. Go to the next slide. So now here the pictorial presentation of supervised learning and unsupervised learning is given. Go to the next slide. Slide number 7. Yeah. So if you can see here again the example of fruits and its classification is given. So we have so many fruits you can see in the bucket, and the annotations are considered as these types. If suppose to the trained machine learning model, if grapes are supplied, then it will ask whether which type of fruit is there is this, then it will call it as these are the grapes, and according to this classification, as the characteristics of grapes are matching with the trained model, it will be classified that this fruit is grapes. So this is basically a classification problem because we are categorizing the discrete class or category. In an unsupervised learning, if you see there are three fruits. The fruits are classified with respect to the patterns or the characteristics itself will be predicted by the model or it will be trained by the model. So if the color of fruit is red, then it will be classified as apple. If it is yellow, then it will be classified as the the second type of fruit. And if it is green, then it will be classified as third type of fruit. Go to next slide. Now, if you see the reinforcement learning over here, so if you see this, the action will be performed in the environment. That action will be judged by the agent, and lastly, based on that particular action, the reward will be given. So it is considered as the closed loop system. Based on the rewards, the action will be corrected. Then the next type of machine learning is the deep learning. Then in the deep learning, if you can see, there are 3 types of layers which are used here over here. So in deep learning, with respect to the machine learning, the first layer is considered to be the input layer. The middle layer is considered to be the hidden layer, and the last layer will be considered as the output layer. So deep learning is also a type of artificial intelligence that imitates the working of human brains in processing the data. So that is why the picture of neurons in our brain is given on the left hand side. So based on the working of human brains in processing data and creating the patterns, will be used in decision making, and that is why it is considered to be a deep learning, or the major algorithm which is considered in deep learning is artificial neural networks. So this name of neural networks is given because it is based on working of a neuron in the brain. In the brain. So basically there are 3 layers, as I already said. The first layer will be input layer, where it receives all the inputs, and the last layer will be considered as output, where it will deliver the expected or desired outputs. Hidden layers are considered to be the middle section of this particular network. There can be n number of hidden layers in the network, and the hidden layers are considered to be the perceptrons. In each layer will depends on the use case that you can use to solve the problem. Go to next slide. So now let us try to understand various building blocks of ML-based classification model. So as I said, the building of ML-based model starts with the collection of data, so which is considered to be input data. So now collection of data can be done in various ways. Particularly for mechanical engineering, the collection of data can be experimental data or the simulated data, or even the data can be collected using various surveys. So if you have experimental setup, you can connect the sensor to the particular machine element, and from that sensor, with respect to various input parameters, you can collect the data. In second way, in simulation, if you simulate some of the mechanical engineering problem, and if you can get data from it also, then it is also used. It is also allowed. And lastly, you can do the surveys, like if you want to build an autonomous car, or if you want to build a system which can detect whether the driver who is driving the car is drunk or not. So based on questionnaires or based on survey which can be asked based on those questionnaires which will be asked to the driver, and based on his answers, that answers will be considered as data, and based on that answer, the model will be trained. So this is how the first step of machine learning based models can be considered. Second is analysis of the analysis of that particular data. Now the data can be analyzed using various techniques, such as the data can be represented in various forms. In particularly for mechanical engineering, it can be a time domain representation or frequency domain representation, or you can represent that data with respect to even space. So that particular considered as step is considered as analysis of data with respect to various presentations, and even with respect to some of the quantification techniques, such as statistical data or histogram patterns and like that. The third will be identifying the patterns. So here from the analog data, we have to extract the statistical kind of information, or some of the information which can be read by the computer, or we can say the features. So based on the patterns, the model will be trained and the prediction will be done after the testing, and lastly it can be stored as the feedback, so that based on that feedback it can be used to train the model, and it will be improved with respect to that feedback. So with the help of machine learning, we can develop intelligent systems that are capable of taking decisions and based on the autonomous basis. So these algorithms learn from the past instances of the data through the statistical learning or pattern matching. It is also considered as the data-driven modeling, because the complete machine learning trained algorithm is based on the data which we have collected. That is why it is considered as data-driven modeling. Go to next slide. But let us try to understand very simple algorithm. I am not going to explain various algorithms which are used in machine learning, because our scope is to understand how these algorithms are applied to solve the mechanical engineering problem. So here I have selected only one simple decision tree, which can be which will be easy to understand the working principle of machine learning model. So if you can see here, a decision tree is a decision support tool that uses a tree-like model of the decisions and their possible consequences, including chance, even outcomes and even the resource cost and utility. So now if you see the first example, the question will be asked as, am I out of shampoo? If the answer is yes, then the next question will be asked, is it raining? And if it is raining, if it is, the answer is yes, then it will be classified as do not go to the market. So if you see here, there are three nodes. First node, where it is written as am I out of shampoo, is considered as the root node, because since it is a tree, we have to consider various nodes of tree. First will be root node, the second will be branch node, and the last will be leaf node. So here, am I out of shampoo is considered to be the root node. Is it raining will be considered as branch node, because it has been divided into one branch after the root node. And lastly, do not go to the market and go to the market. These two are the classification categories. That is why these are considered to be leaf nodes. So here, input will be considered as input node, or sorry, the root node, and the output is considered as the decision. So here decision is whether to go to the market or not. So based on the questions, if I am out of shampoo, and if it is raining, do not go to the market, and if it is raining, go to the market. Secondly, if I'm out of shampoo and if it is not raining, then obviously you can go to the market and you can purchase the shampoo. So this is how a binary kind of classification or rules are made with respect to the data available, or with respect to the data which has been collected. If you see the second example, where the question is asked as, is person fit or unfit? So here the category is either he is fit or he is unfit. So the first argument is his age is less than 30. If his age is less than 30, then the next test is considered to be the it is to be asked as, eat pizza or not. So if his age is less than 30, then he can eat the pizza, and if it is not, then he will not eat the pizza and he is considered to be the unfit. So the second argument will be considered as exercise. So if he is greater than 30, then obviously it will considered as no, and then the question will be asked to whether to exercise or not. So if he want to exercise, then he is considered to be fit, and if he is not doing exercise, it will be considered as unfit. So similarly, this decision tree model will be developed, and the classification model is used for making some predictions as class, whether now these two examples are considered to be binary classification, because there are only two categories, or two classes are to be categorized. So that is why it is called as binary classification or two class classification. If you have more number of classes, then it is called as multi-class classification, and there are many algorithms which are used to train such models. Go to next slide. So now let us try to go to the interesting part, that is AI ML in mechanical engineering. So here the list of various applications are given. The kinematic analysis of planar four-bar mechanism and Slider-Crank mechanism is using machine learning algorithms. Then an image-based approach for variational path synthesis of linkages. Then the ML-driven individualized gate rehabilitation, in which the classification, prediction, and mechanism design with the motion generation app has been designed for the four-bar mechanism by the Tony Brock University. One of my classmates, his name is Rohan Gatpande. He has, his name is Ghanasham Deshpande. So he has developed this app as his PhD research work. Then the next application is considered to be predicting the output and efficiency of thermal systems. Then battery performance evaluation and management also can be done using AI and ML applications. Then the flow optimization using machine learning, flow control via reinforcement learning also can be considered. Then application of ML in metallurgy and material science can be considered as, if you want to predict the material property and even the classification of ML in new material discovery, image-driven machine learning method for microstructure recognition, and so on. These are being emerging research work based on the machine learning applications. Then the machine learning is also applied for machining process characterization, where the speed, feed, and depth of cut will be varied with respect to the workpiece material and the type of machining operation to be performed. Based on that, the characteristics of that particular process will be built using machine learning model. Then nowadays intelligent CNC machines are being coming where the alarms, triggers and spindle monitoring, even the tool failure, tool life will be predicted based on the trained model of machine learning. Then even the requirement of industry 4.0, if we consider, and it is as smart factories, quality control, the inventory and logistic management, all these applications are also now driven by machine learning and AI applications. And lastly, PHM applications will be considered where prognostics and health management of various machine components are being carried out. And lastly, the application is considered to be computer vision. Go to next slide. So as we know that we are in the industry 4.0, that is the fourth industrial revolution, which is based on smart factory and autonomous systems. And this is completely based on application of AI and ML in the mechanical engineering field. So that is why, why we are doing this particular presentation and even the research. Go to the next slide. So now if you see this next slide, as a smart factory, there are three main aspects of smart factory. First is smart machines, second is smart production, and third is smart services. So in the first smart machines, the smart machines are being developed nowadays, where it is ensured that the various processes and various operations of those machines are driven by AI and ML applications. So it can be the various functions in smart machine can be considered as remote control, central computer applications, then intelligence user interface, and so on. Even the data exchange, self-optimization, and individualization is also considered in the smart machinery. So the smart machineries will be based on their working will be based on collecting the data, analyzing that data, get trained from that data automatically, and then make the predictions based on that, and even then improve the trained model with respect to the experience. Then second is smart production, where the complete production system now is being replaced by smart working. And the last is smart services. Now here the condition-based monitoring and predictive maintenance is considered with the online services, remote maintenance, and even the virtual machine. So manager can sit at his place and he can observe, the condition of all machines is in factory, and then based on that he can make the decisions. That is why this is considered as very important aspect of industry 4.0. So if you consider, now you can ask me, since the smart machines are being developed, what is the necessity of condition monitoring and predictive maintenance? Even though the smart machines are developed by the researchers and even the scientists, there is chance of getting failure. There is chance of getting machine elements failed. So to prevent those failures, in we can say in so predicting those failures well before, we have to go for smart servicing. So if my machine is leading to some kind of failure, if I predict that failure well before, then there is no chance of that machine gets failed and then the maintenance is required. That is why it is considered to be a predictive maintenance rather than it is considered to be a breakdown maintenance. Breakdown maintenance has been practiced in the industry from last many years, because the machine component get failed and then the maintenance engineer will come, he will diagnose that fault, and then the machine will be repaired, and then the machine will be again started. So to avoid all this these actions, we go for predictive maintenance, where the failure of particular component will be predicted well before or well in advance, and thus the failure will not occur. Go to next slide. The very important topic which I want to cover today is this agile factory. Now, to adopt the ever-changing environments, as we are in the era of corona pandemic, the manufacturer needs to focus on creating operational flexibility. So this agile factory is able to provide this flexibility windows by integrating IoT solutions, that is Internet of Things integrated to this manufacturing domain or factory domains, and the process are being digitized. So agility is nothing but it is ability to move or think quickly in the intelligent way. So being heavily used in the software development and in the project management, agile methods describe ability to quickly respond customers' demands using iterative sprint planning and self-organized teams. So this kind of factories has fully connected and digitized processes where the dynamic production planning and control is based on completely data, and it is being driven by the data, and it empowers the employees and focuses on efficient supply chain. So building blocks of this agile factory can be considered as fully connected manufacturing and digitized processes, dynamic production planning and control, dynamic analytics, predictive operations based on the real-time data. So if machine components or if some manufacturing process is being carried out, that manufacturing process will be captured with respect to some data. That data will be analyzed, and based on that data, the training model will be trained, and then it will be used for predicting the performance of that particular machine. Then even it is integrated with the supply chain management and will be used for employee empowerment. Go to the next slide. So now let us try to understand the various applications of machine learning in AI, machine learning in mechanical engineering. So I'm going to discuss these 5 topics. Let us discuss one by one. Go to next slide. The first is smart health monitoring of machine elements. As I already said, machine elements or rotating machineries can be considered as gears, bearings, cutting tools, pumps, hydraulic brakes, turbines, and so on. So wherever there is a rotating machinery, there is need of smart maintenance or predictive maintenance, because there are chances of failures in those particular machine or machine elements. The need of this smart health monitoring is that it will detect the failures in advance. It will suggest or provide better health plan. It will be useful to monitor the certain parameters continuously. It will be used to reduce the maintenance activities, and it will save the idle times, because here the predictive the breakdown maintenance is completely omitted. And lastly, obviously, it will save the cost and it will improve its efficiency and the productivity. Go to next slide. So now let us try to understand the health monitoring with respect to the conventional approach and with respect to a machine learning approach. So the advantages of machine learning approaches are given here, which I have already explained. You can go to next slide. Okay, so now let us try to understand the classical approach. Suppose a electrical motor is producing so much of vibrations. Can you go to slide 18? Yeah. So now if you can see here, the electrical motor is producing vibrations. Now reason behind producing this vibration can be anything. Like if the load on this particular motor, if it is increased excessively, then it can produce the vibration. If the bearings inside the motor, if they are not operating well, then also it can produce the vibration. Or if there in the shaft, then also it can produce the vibration. Now if I want to monitor the vibration, I want to do the fault diagnosis. Previously, the classic, that is why it is called as classic approach. Previously, what people used to do is people used to use people used to employ the sensors like accelerometer near to the source of vibration. Then the pattern of that particular accelerometer will be studied with respect to time. Like time domain analysis is considered as how the acceleration is changing with respect to time. And then using fast Fourier transform, that is FFT, they used to convert that signal into frequency domain. So then this frequency domain graph will give you how the amplitude of acceleration is changing with respect to frequency. Now looking at the frequency patterns, visually the maintenance engineer used to make the decision. If natural frequency of rotation of the shaft of electric motor is considered to be 300 rpm, then its natural frequency is considered as 300 divided by 60. That is किती होतात 300 divided by 60 आहेत का झोपलेत सगळे? हा
5
कोणीतरी सांगा
5
300 divided by 60 किती?
5.
5.
Isn't it? So now
Yes,
if you are getting peak other than its natural frequency, suppose if you are getting peak of acceleration at 2x, suppose x is considered as its natural frequency. So if you are getting peak of acceleration other than 5 hertz, then you can say your system is faulty. So based on such decisions, based on such rules, the maintenance engineer used to make the predictions, and that is why it is considered as classical approach. So now if you observe this particular approach, this decision making is completely based on knowledge of that particular maintenance engineer. If he has good knowledge of patterns and their relationship with respect to the vibration, vibration data, then he will be able to make the decision correctly. If he has not good, if he is not having good knowledge of these patterns, obviously it is not helpful. So that is why this approach has been now replaced with the machine learning approach. So you can go to the next slide where machine learning approach is used. So now engineer with the trained machine learning algorithm. So now here it starts with various faults. So various faults can be bearing faults. Then the rotor, there may be chance of faults being there in the rotor bar, or there must be eccentricity in the bias and so on. So these faults are captured with respect to some of the signals. It can be vibrations, it can be current, it can be power consumption, it can be noise, and so on. So if I select the vibration signal, then the vibration signal will be collected for various inputs, and then the signal will be processed. Because if you represent that signal with time domain and frequency domain, you will be able to visualize. But that visualization now we have to get trained by the computer. So we need to convert that analog graph into some some numerical value. So we go for signal processing, where that signal is processed and the statistical features will be extracted out of that signal, where you can say the mean, mode, median, and all such statistical features will be extracted. And then based on these features and the values and the labels, the training data set will be made. Now that training data set will be given to the machine learning algorithm, and the algorithm will get trained. And based on the training of that algorithm, if you supply any of the signal, faulty signal from the machine components with respect to the patterns which matches with that particular fault, the category or condition of the machine will be classified. So this is the machine learning approach. Go to next slide. So now let us try to discuss this tool condition monitoring, where the cutting tool, the milling cutter, is being monitored with respect to the vibration evolved during the machining. So classifier maps a set of selected features of signals such as vibration, noise, power consumption, and temperature to the normal or faulty configuration of machine element, that is the cutting tool, and which is being evaluated by the machine learning algorithm with respect to its classification accuracy. So now if you see this experimental setup, we have carried out this experimentation in the axis metal cut industry in the Bhosari. So we have targeted the cutting tool condition. So we wanted to predict whether the cutting tool is healthy or faulty during the process. So we have connected the accelerometer to collect the vibration near to the spindle holder. So accelerometer was attached to the spindle holder. This experimentation was carried out on milling machine. The workpiece was considered as mild steel, and the vibration analyzer was used to acquire that data. Go to next slide. So now here you can see the various classes we have considered as healthy insert, then the insert with flank wear, insert with notch wear, and insert with nose wear. So here three types of faults were considered, and one category was considered as healthy insert. So here our aim is to predict where your tool insert is healthy or faulty. If it is faulty, then is it flank wear, or is it nose wear, or is it notch wear? Go to next slide. So now based on this, we have performed 6 operations. Now in these 6 operations, configuration of all 4 inserts you can see here. So for first operation, all 4 inserts were used, new inserts were used where there was no fault. In second operation, 3 inserts were kept new, and fourth one was replaced with insert with flank wear. Third one was replaced with nose wear, and fourth one was replaced with notch wear. Since we are dealing with milling machine and it is multi-point cutting tool, we have introduced faults at 2 places for operation number 5 and 6. So now you can ask me what is the intention behind inducing this faulty inserts during the machining. Now if I want to
Sir, you are inaudible, sir. Hello. Sir, the voice is not audible. Hello, sir, you're not audible, sir.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, you're
Yes,
audible
sir.
now.
Okay. Actually, I have connected my internet from mobile, so whenever I'm getting call, it is being disconnected. Sorry for that. Okay, so these all six operations were performed with the constant speed, feed, and depth of cut, where you can vary this speed, feed, depth of cut for getting the generalized model. Go to the next slide. So now here you can see the vibration data collected with respect to these graphs. So when the all four inserts, new inserts were used, so you can see here the magnitude the magnitude of acceleration do not exceed 0.5 g. That is, or you can see here on the opposite side also it is just cross 0. Minus 0.5 at some places. If you see the other graphs, if you see that graph for second operation, third operation, and fourth operation, because for second, third, and fourth operation, we have introduced faulty inserts. Now, because of introduction of those faulty inserts during the machining, the vibration amplitude now has been increased. You can see over here, because vibration amplitude has almost crossed 0.5. Here it has crossed 1, and here also it has crossed 1. But now from these graphs, we can just say that there is change in the amplitude. The amplitude it is being varied. But now to make a machine learning model based on it, we need to go for statistical feature extraction. That has been done in the next slide. So you can see here 13 statistical features for these accelerations were extracted, which were mean, standard error, median, mode, standard deviation, variance, kurtosis, skewness, range, minimum value, maximum value, and the count. Can you go to slide 24? Yeah, so here the statistical features were extracted for those acceleration data points, and 240 samples were considered, 40 samples considered for each condition, and in each sample 2048 data points of acceleration were considered. Go to next slide. Now here you can see we went for feature selection. Now what is need of feature selection? I have already explained in the previous slide that if suppose we are judging the fruits with respect to color, and if the color of two different fruit is same, if two different fruits have same color, then we can go for the next feature, which is shape. So that is why features which exhibit same characteristics will be eliminated, because then the same characteristics may lead for misclassification. So that is why there is need of feature selection. So if suppose mean of first operation and second operation, if it is same, so because you have seen that the magnitude of acceleration has been slightly increased for second operation with respect to the first operation. If suppose mean feature or maximum feature value or minimum feature value, if it is same for first and second operation, then those particular features are of no use. So that is why we have to eliminate those particular features. So briefly talking, the features which exhibit similar characteristics between classes. Here we have 6 classes of faults. So if any feature which exhibits same characteristics for all classes, then it is of no use and that has to be eliminated. But then how to decide it? This can be decided using various techniques. One of that technique is decision tree algorithm. If you see here, if kurtosis is less than or equal to 1.29, it will be classified as standard error. If standard error is less than 0.05, it is again classified as skewness. If it is less than or equal to 0.035, it will be classified as minimum. And lastly, if minimum is less than or equal to minus 0.71, the 37 samples out of 40 samples of condition D are classified. If kurtosis is greater than 1.29, the feature will be classified as maximum, and if maximum value is greater than 1.55, it will be classified. 41 samples are correctly classified as A, that is healthy tool. So this is how a decision tree is used for selecting the features. So features which are exhibited by decision tree are considered to be the significant features. and further those you be used to make a generalized model. Go to next slide. So here you can see the confusion matrix, where you can see the predicted class and actual class. So for class A class A is nothing but healthy tool, where all 4 inserts are healthy. So all 40 samples were correctly classified as class A. For class B, 39 samples were correctly classified as class B, and 1 sample was misclassified as C. For class D, 39 sample again correctly classified as D, and 1 sample is misclassified as F. This is how confusion matrix will be evaluated or interpreted, and based on the elements which are placed in the diagonal are considered to be the correctly classified samples. And if we take the average of all these elements, then the classification accuracy can be calculated. Go to next slide. Now I will explain the scope of open source hardware and software, because in the previous example, the accelerometer which we have used and the data acquisition system, which was of very high cost, and if it is not affordable to all, we can go for use of open source hardware and software. So in-house development of data acquisition system was made for vibration measurement, where the scope of this system is to display time domain and frequency domain graph. Here we have used ADXL MEMS based accelerometer, which is of very less cost. We know you can get this accelerometer within just 250 rupees, and the cost of piezoelectric accelerometer is near about 50,000 rupees. So you can see the difference between cost of these two sensors. So if the piezoelectric accelerometer is not affordable to me, I can go for purchasing this particular accelerometer, and then it can be used for specific applications. You can find this MEMS accelerometer in your mobile phone also, and even you can find this accelerometer in the cars, where the actuation of airbags during the accident can be done using this particular accelerometer. So the data was collected using MEMS accelerometer, and it was processed with Arduino Atmega 2650, which is open source hardware. And then further, the system was integrated to Python. It was interfaced to Python, so that the data will be collected in Python and then it can be processed. Go to next slide. So you can see this system we have developed in-house. This was the system which was the idea of Dr. Suhas Deshmukh, associate professor who is working in Government College of Engineering, Karad, and this was made by some of my students in house development of this system. You can go to next slide. See, here we have used accelerometer. Instead of accelerometer, you can go for thermocouple or sound sensor or even the flow meter, and that can be interfaced to Arduino, and you can develop your own system within your house or within your college. Then this system was tested on the camp jump of apparatus, where you can see the accelerometer was placed on the plate over there, and the speed was changed. Go to next slide. That speed equal to 240 RPM. You can see the time domain graph, which was highlighted in the blue color, the first upper figure. So that graph shows that how your acceleration is changing with respect to time at the speed equal to 240 RPM. Now that graph has been converted into frequency domain, where we can see how acceleration is changing with respect to frequency can be judged. So now if you can see here, since we kept the speed at 240 RPM, its natural frequency will be equal to 4 Hertz. So you can see over here the peak of that particular, the peak can be localized. It can be seen it is localized at 4 Hertz. The system, my system, which I have developed and the data was collected, was shown frequency was 3.96. System was validated with respect to standard FFT analyzer. So you can see on the another graph where the black color graph was shown and the natural frequency was shown as 4 Hertz perfectly. And even if you see the acceleration amplitude, it was shown by my system was 10.69 meter per second square, and the standard system, it showed the acceleration is 10.8 meter per second square. So you can see there was close agreement between both the results. You can go to next slide. So here the instrumentation and software packages, you must know, that is why I have highlighted over here. So it consumes, it incorporates various kinds of sensors. Then the software packages includes LabVIEW, then the MATLAB, MS Excel, Weka, Arduino, Raspberry Pi, Python, and so on. And then the data acquisition can be performed. Go to next slide. So here you can see the international industries where the data acquisition, they work moreover in data acquisition, developing data acquisition system. First is Dytran, then the second is Adafruit, National Instruments, Texas Instruments, Analog Devices. So these are some of the, even Devetron, these are some of the industrial, international industries which deal with development of data acquisition system. Go to next slide. Yeah, so here you can see the implementation of the system which I have developed in the in-house. We have used it to monitor the tire pressure. So to monitor the tire pressure, we have used accelerometer, and it was mounted on hub of the front wheel and rear wheel. You can see over there in the picture. Go to next slide. Now we have this was the experimental setup. We have developed our own system using interfacing of MEMS accelerometer and Arduino, and then the data was processed using the Python. So the accelerometer were mounted on rear wheel and the front wheel, and the vibration data of those two wheels was collected for different speeds, different weights of the person who is driving that particular vehicle, and even the different road conditions. Go to next slide. So here the classification model was trained, and the confusion matrix you can see over here. So we had considered three classes: a defect-free tire, defective tire, and stable tire. So this confusion matrix states that how many samples are correctly classified with respect to various classes. So this is how a open source instrumentation can be used to develop a data acquisition system, and then further it can be implemented to develop machine learning model. Go to next slide. So now there is interesting application. Second application where image-based classification of nuts, bolts, washers, and locating pins will be explained. So in the previous case, the data was numeric data, and now here we have image-based data. So you can see here there are four types we are considering, four classes. First is bolt, second is locating pin, third is nut, and fourth is washer. Go to next slide. So now here you can see the methodology for classification of this particular types of machine elements. So here you can see that input data is considered as images of the four components. Then the machine learning algorithm will be trained with respect to that data, and then it will be predict. Now to evaluate this particular model, what we can do is we can test we can supply any kind of figure to trained model, and then it will be either classified as nut or it can be classified as bolt and so on. Go to next slide. So you can see the methodology is same, only there is change in the data and its representation. So here you can see there are total 8 representations of bolts, locating pins, nuts, and washer was used as input data, and this data with their labels was considered to develop the training data set. Go to next slide. So here you can see we have downloaded this particular data from the AutoCAD software, where each data creates 8 images of 224 into 224 pixels that we can have total 1904 images of each of 4 classes. So we can get total 7616 images. So now these images are considered to be the analog representation, and then we have to convert it into some numeric form. So we can go for the next slide, where you can see each of the images are converted into an array of which their pixel values in the grayscale. The value of the pixel which ranges from 0, that is considered as black, to 225 as white. So it's actually 225 shades of grayscale. So this is how you can convert your images into an array of pixel values, and then this will be considered as data for the training the machine learning algorithm. Go to next slide. So now here you can see each of the images become an array of 224 into 224. So our entire data set is 3D array of 7616 into 224 into 224 dimensions. So here 7616 is nothing but number of images, and 224 into 224 are nothing but their pixel values in each image. Go to the next slide. So here you can see the model was evaluated using convolution neural network, which is basically a type of deep learning approach, where you can see that the convolution and non-linearity was considered with the maximum pooling, and then the neural network was trained, and lastly it was categorized as bolt, washer, nut, and locating pin. Then the model can be evaluated using two approaches. One can be cross-validation approach, and another one is splitting approach. In cross-validation approach, training data set will be splitted into k folds, or you can suppose if it is 10-fold cross-validation, then the data will be split into 10 various folds, and for each time 9 folds will be considered for training and 1 fold will be considered for testing. So this is split approach. This is cross-validation approach. Where in split approach, your training data set will be split into 2 parts with some percentage. Like if your split percent is 80% and 20%, then 80% data will be used for training and 20% data will be used for testing. Where that 20% data is considered to be a data which was not known to the training model, trained model. Go to next slide. So here you can see how the model was trained. So 7616 number of images were splitted into test and train. So 6092 images were used for training and 1524 images were used for testing. Then using training data, the model was trained and it was trained for 15 epochs. The meaning of epochs in machine learning, that one complete pass of the training data set to the algorithm. So this is how the model was trained and the classification was performed. Go to next slide. So here you can see if the image was supplied to this particular trained algorithm, then the classification was done as whether it is nut or whether it is bolt. So since the bolt was supplied, the characteristics of bolt were correctly identified by the trained model, and based on that it was predicted that it is a bolt and it was classified as the same category. Go to next slide. Now here we will discuss deep learning reinforcement learning approach for active flow control. So here the problem statement was a deep reinforcement learning agent was employed to train artificial neural network using computational fluid dynamics to perform some active flow control around the 2D circular cylinder. Here the system which was used was flow control strategies were investigated at the diameter based Reynolds number equal to 100 using the advantage actor critic algorithm by meaning of 2 symmetric plasma actuators located on the surface of cylinder near to the suppression point. Then how deep reinforcement learning was applied to this particular problem, that when this agent interacts with the computational fluid dynamics environment to the manipulations, the non-dimensional burst frequency of 2 plasma actuator and the time average of surface pressure was used as a feedback observation, and thus based on this feedback the reward was given. Either the reward will be given or the punishment will be given. So reward will be given when the machine learning model is going for the correct prediction, and if it is leading to false prediction, the punishment will when it is correct. So when it is leading to the false prediction, the punishment will be given, and according to the punishment, the the deep learning model will be corrected. So the result was this particular study was regular actuation using constant non-dimensional burst frequency gives maximum drag of reduction of 21.8%. While deep learning approach, when it was implemented, the agent was able to give the control strategy to achieve the drag of 22.6%. So you can see the increment in the drag percentage. Go to next slide. Then the material discovery and the design will be considered as the prominent field in the machine learning applications. So in this particular application, you can see that there are 3 different approaches with which we can deal with machine learning. So as shown in this particular figure, the application of machine learning in material discovery and design can be divided into 3 phases. One is material property prediction, another one is new material discovery, and third one will be their various purposes or various uses. So in research on material property prediction, regression analysis will be performed where both microscopic and macroscopic properties will be predicted. So till now we have studied the classification problem. Here the regression problem was given. As I already said, regression will be used to predict the continuous value of desired output. That is why to discover the material property and even to discover the new material, the regression approach was used. Regression is nothing but for given data, the best fit line will be fitted. It can be either a straight line, or it can be a cubic curve, or it can be a quadratic equation, or it can be even Gaussian curve, bell-shaped curve. So according to the data distribution which you get in the input, the best fit curve will be found out, and the regression analysis will be done to predict the values in the near future. So the main idea behind this application in the new material discovery to use the probabilistic model to screen various combinations of structures and components, and finally then to select a material with good performance from the candidate set by means of density function theory and its validation. So in addition to this, machine learning is also used for the other purposes in material science, such as process optimization and density function optimization. Basically, these optimizations are used for to find out the best fit curve, and with respect to that, the optimized model will be defined. Go to next slide. So here also you can see the another application where the fundamental framework of application of machine learning in material property prediction is given over here. You can see the neural network model was trained for using the feature engineering. First of all, hand tuning of or feature engineering is conducted to identify the conditional attributes that are related to property of prediction. In second phase, the mapping relationship between these conditional factors and the decision attribute will be found out. And lastly, the trained model can be used to predict the property of that particular material. Now let us take one example where some researchers have proposed a calculation which is called as property labeled material fragments for building machine learning model to predict the property of inorganic uh, crystals. So in this particular study, if low variance and highly correlated features, if they are filtered out, then the feature space will be considered as the significant feature space. So using this particular decision tree, the novel candidate material will be first classified as either a material or an insulator, and then the band gap energy will be predicted if the material is if the material is insulator. So regardless of material property or insulator classification, 6 thermodynamical features like bulk modulus, shear modulus, temperature, heat capacity, constant pressure, heat capacity at constant volume, and thermal expansion coefficient were predicted. Both model training and five-fold cross-validation were used, and it was evaluated using various machine learning parameters. And this is how it can be applied to discover a material with respect to thermomechanical properties. Go to next slide. Okay, so now here also one application is given where the prediction of macroscopic material of microscopic properties of material is explained. So if you can see here, the first data set was considered from the material motifs. Then the fingerprints vectors were extracted from this input data. Then those were mapped with chemical distances, and then those based on chemical distances and using machine learning algorithm, the regression, non-linear regression was performed, and based on the non-linear regression, the microscopic properties of material were predicted. So this is how, if you have good knowledge of each domain, base domain like mechanical engineering or metallurgy engineering, or even fluid mechanics and heat transfer, you will be easily able to develop the model and make the predictions. Go to next slide. So lastly, I'm going to discuss ML-based supply chain management, where it has been integrated with machine learning that can be helped to automate
Sir, you are inaudible, sir.
Yeah. So according to the survey which was carried out by some industry, it was predicted that logistic-based AIML-based logistic operations will get transformation undertaken by manufacturing companies, and it will lead to productivity gains of almost 20% by 2024. Then the another company predicted that at least 50% of global companies in supply chain operations will be using AI and machine learning till 2023. Go to next slide. Now there are top 9 uses cases of machine learning in supply chain management will be considered as predictive analytics, automated quality inspections, real-time visibility, streamlining production planning, reduces cost and response time, warehouse management, reduction in forecast errors, advanced last mile tracking, and lastly fraud detection. So the companies which are using machine learning to improve their supply chain belongs to Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet, P&G, and so on. So if you have good knowledge of machine learning based models, now since I'm not explaining the models which are there in the these applications, because the methodology used for building a classification and regression model is same, which we have seen for tool condition monitoring or tire pressure monitoring and so on. So that is why I am not explaining. But if you have good hand on developing any machine learning based model, then of course you can go for such kind of applications. Go to next slide. Now the interesting thing is, if you see these pictures, what do you observe? Now I will open the floor to everybody now, because we have to discuss last 2-3 slides, so that I will understand whether you have aware of whatever I was telling, and have you really understood it or not. So anybody of you observing these pictures, what do you interpret? Like, what is your opinion observing to these pictures? If such kind of data is given to the machine learning algorithm, what will happen? Anybody of you? Yes. You can see two types of dogs in this slide and various pictures. What do you understand? If such kind of images are given to the trained model of machine learning, what will happen? And what will be the reason behind it? You can tell your name before answering the question. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yes.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, I am Bharat Udgirkar.
Yes.
Sir, by seeing the two sides of
Bola.
the picture, the machine learning or the AI algorithm
Uh-huh.
will identify the three dots and the color of the species, means of the picture. So it will identify all
Correct.
as a single species, and in the right side also,
Correct.
all it will
Correct, but it will
identify.
lead, for some of the pictures, it will lead to misclassification, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uh,
Because the model will be trained based on three features,
yes,
which
sir.
you said. Which were those three features? Three dots,
Three dots.
color, and maybe the shape.
Yes, sir.
But other than these three features, if some of the pictures they are matching other than these three features,
Yes, sir.
and it belongs to the same characteristics, that is why it will lead to misclassification. So
Okay.
the intention behind showing this particular slide is that why data science is important in machine learning and AI. So data science is nothing but about extracting, preparation, analysis, visualization, and maintenance of information. So if your information is not properly analyzed, visualized, maintained, prepared, and if relevant features are not extracted, then it will lead to misclassification, because these models are very volatile, and those are based on the distinct, in finite features. So that is
Yes,
why
sir.
it is considered to be a cross-disciplinary field where scientific methods and processes are used to draw insights from the data. And that is why it is very important to learn data science. If you want to be a good machine learning or artificial intelligence based researcher. Go to next slide. Now these are the challenges which are there in this field. So application of low cost instrumentation, because low cost instrumentation has properties, the properties are also, very less. So if you consider the accelerometer, then low cost accelerometer and its sensitivity can't be compared with the piezoelectric accelerometer, because even the range also, because MEMS based accelerometer will be used for the range of accelerometer plus or minus 3G, and piezoelectric accelerometer can be used to detect the range of plus or minus 500G. So that is why enhancing the performance of low cost instrumentation is the really challenge. Then the application of open source platforms, like if I want to integrate my model with the Python, then or any open source language, then you must have a good knowledge of those languages. Then real-time implementation of all these algorithms and trained models is really difficult, because it has been applied for non-technical, we can say non-technical fields more, because where the boundary conditions are very less and they are fixed. But if you consider the mechanical field, where the boundary conditions and even the dynamic conditions are very they are varying a lot, so that is why implementation of these models is really difficult, and we need to really think on implementation of those models. Then onboard diagnostics. See, suppose we have make a model, we have developed a model for tool condition monitoring or tire pressure monitoring. Implementing those systems is really difficult, because we have to consider its instrumentation, data acquisition system, their location, training of model, and sufficient data must be acquired. Then the sufficient features must be extracted out of it. So making generalized model in this era is really difficult, and thus its implementation also. Then the integration of these systems with Internet of Things, now it is being very popular and it is emerging. So we can consider this as a challenge. And lastly, if I want to predict some of the data from the available data, we have to use the artificial intelligence tools such as deep learning techniques. Suppose if I acquire data for specific speed, like I acquire data for 200 RPM, 400 RPM, 600 RPM, 800 RPM. But if my operator is operating the shaft at 300 RPM and the data of, at that RPM is not available, so what you can do is you can use the data of 200 RPM and 400 RPM. You can get the interpolation, or you can go for regression. You can fit the best fit curve, and based on that, you can predict the data at 300 RPM. So this is called as data augmentation. If you have data at 4 RPM, based on data of 4 RPM, it can be the speed and the vibration at other RPM can be predicted using this data augmentation technique. So this was the last challenge. Go to next slide. So now here there are some memes, popular memes. We have gone through during our research work. So you can see the first picture where the face of the man was shown when he was modeling this machine learning with Python. Then he was modeling it with MATLAB, and lastly he is modeling with Weka. So when if you want to make your model with Weka, it is very easy. So that is why his face was shown as very funny. Using MATLAB, it is somewhat better, but using Python, it is easy. But you should have knowledge of coding. If you don't have knowledge of coding, you can go with Weka, and even with MATLAB, because they have their own graphic user interfaces where input and output, you have to give the input and select the various parameters, and based on that the model will be trained. But in Python, somewhat coding is needed to make a machine learning model. Then second picture shows that the true class as another picture, and what my predicted model is the another picture. So you can see the difference between my true class and the predicted class. True class is somewhat it is not somewhat, it is completely different, and my predicted class is completely different. And the last is, this is your machine learning system. The one person asked to another person. He says yes. You pour the data into this big pile of the linear algebra and then collect the answer on the other side. And then he said, what if the answers are wrong? And he said, just stir the pile until they start looking the right. So that means the data mining and data analytics is so important, and you have to do it for various iterations till you get the desired output. So that is why this means is given over here. Lastly, the best way to learn machine learning. Go to next slide. is the steps, various steps are given here. First step is considered as strengthen your basics of mathematics, which is really important because decision tree algorithms, support vector machines, K-star, Bayes algorithm, these all algorithms are based on mathematics and probability. And then the second step is considered as the master of the statistical techniques and methods. Third is understanding machine learning algorithms. Fourth is gain expertise in all programming languages. Grasp the concept of data learning and analysis. Refer the books of machine learning and participate in conferences, webinars, seminars, and so on. And lastly, thoroughly practice the machine learning projects. So basically, if you ask me, the best way to learn machine learning is the last option directly. If you have basic knowledge of machine learning, which I have delivered just now, and if you get good, teacher who is working with this particular domain, then you can jump directly to 7th step, and then you can, go reverse with this particular flow. The reverse engineering you can do, and that is more easy. If you go for 7th step first and then the other steps, then it will be easy to understand this machine learning model. So this is my practical experience. The flow which is shown here is the theoretical flow. This is how we learn engineering every day. But in actual practice, it is reverse. As per my experience, 7th step is the first step, and then you can go for the other step. It is assumed that you have basic knowledge of machine learning and building of machine learning models. Next slide. I would like to highlight my research team because it is a teamwork. It is not, I have individually contributed it. So we have 3 professors. My inspiration as Dr. Jagdishwaran from VIT Vellore, Dr. Suhad Deshmukh from Government College of Engineering Karad, our own Professor Dr. Pardeshi from POIP, and then my beloved students who have really worked hard for making the good projects based on machine learning, and even the publications also. Recently, we have published our paper in ASME, that is American Society of Mechanical Engineering, one of the journal of this particular publication, this society, and which was contributed by Naman Bajaj, Kaushal Kulkarni, Rohan Gatpande, and Atharva Kapadnis. Then the second team was Rugved Vakchaure, Aditya Patil, Aditya Medi, and uh, Rudresh Hegu, who were worked for the developing open source platform for acquiring the data of vibration. And along with that, currently Nikhil Pradhan, Apurva Khade, Apurva Khairnar, Rushikesh Khade, and Narayan Gowde, they are working on optimization of machine learning algorithms. Meta-heuristic optimizers, they are being analyzed, and they are building the models based on those optimizers to optimize the performance of support vector machine particularly. My number is given here, mobile number. You can feel free to contact me at any time. You can note down my number. It is 8329347107. Thank you so much. Go to last slide. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, now the floor is open to everybody. I think Digvijay Shinde, he had some question. If you have any question, you can ask me right now. Thank you so much for patiently listening to this expert lecture. I feel very fortunate to be here, being invited to deliver lecture to share my knowledge. Thank you so much. Yes, you can ask questions.
It was very fun.
Yeah, continue.
I can't hear you.
Uh,
Can you please be louder? Be louder.
Am I audible now?
Yes, Digvijay, you are audible. Please ask.
Thank you. I would like to share one of my experiences, which may relate to the point that sir explained us, which was image process approach. So, if he permits me, may I?
Yes, sure. Go ahead, Digvijay.
Yeah. So, when I was serving
by the way, Digvijay is my classmate from the diploma in mechanical engineering from Khusrowadi Institute of Technology. Thank you, Digvijay, for coming here. You can share your experience.
It was all my pleasure. I mean, this is apart from the topic that we are talking, but I would like to say that
Please go ahead.
I just wanted to attend one of your lectures. I mean, I think I told you this long before that I wanted to attend your lecture, and today is the day. Yeah. So this was my experience. Maybe that could relate to that point. It was when I was serving to JCB, and it had a backhoe loader. So they had one issue that the rams which the backloader has, on its rear end,
Mhm.
the newly trained people, they used to miss the pads because those rams,
Mhm.
they travel in and out
Okay.
of those rams, and it had pads at the inner side. So the
Hmm.
workers used to miss those pads, and due to which the life of those rams used to drastically reduce. So
Okay.
they asked for solution, and what
Mhm.
solution we gave was that
Mhm.
that use image processes, that
Okay.
approach. So what
You're not audible
we
actually.
did
Your voice is breaking.
from diff
Your voice is breaking
yeah.
actually.
So am I audible now? I had a technical glitch.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So we took images of already padded RAM from
Uh
various
huh.
angles,
Uh
various
huh.
aspects, colors, and then those data collective was processed. And after that, each time when the workers used to work on that line, he had one probe into which he used to
Mhm.
enter that probe into the RAM, and one image was captured. That
Okay.
image was so it the that
Your voice is still breaking, Digvijay. It is breaking. Digvijay, your voice is breaking. I'm not audible. You're not audible.
so that
No, you're
is
not
it
audible.
is it okay now?
Please speak. No.
Yeah, I guess I have internet issue. Am I audible now?
Yeah, yeah. Now audible. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So that image used to be processed, compared with the already given uh,
Correct. Data.
images.
Already given
Yeah,
data. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And then the computer used to like tested. Okay, the your
Correct.
RAM has pad.
So was there any
Yeah.
machine learning algorithm trained based on the previous data?
Yes, yes, yes. Actually,
Okay.
that uh, yeah. What I said was that the various angles and the various pictures
Correct.
previously taken, that was
Correct.
the input data for the newly taken image.
Yeah, so this is good example of implementation of machine learning algorithm for classification. But now here I would like to say one thing, that the boundary condition and input which was used to build this model was must be very less. So that, and must not be varying with respect to time or even with respect to some of the parameters. So that is why implementation was easy, isn't it? Because you have considered only three features and those three features are constant throughout. They
Ex-
will not be changing in real time. So that is why it is its implementation is easy.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to share because this was
Correct.
one of the most easiest example to.
Good, good,
Yeah,
very good. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Sir, Digvijay
Nikhil.
sir, we feel very honored that you have come to our expert lecture and sharing your insight about machine learning and
There
AI
must
application.
be there must be other people also. Some of the other people also, because so many have asked for the link from my friend list and even some of the faculties also.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, sir.
So I'm not the one.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Uh, other two, sir, have, I guess, raised their hands.
Yeah, Nikhil Joshi, please go ahead. I think Nikhil is there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
निखिल,
Hello.
येस.
Good evening, sir.
निखिल, आवाज खूप कमी आहे, ऐकायला व्यवस्थित येत नाहीये.
Hello. Hello.
हा हा निखिल.
Hmm. Hi, sir. Sir, as today's webinar topic talks about AI and ML in auto mechanical engineering. So
Mhm.
now automobile is the branch of mechanical engineering,
Mhm.
and now in the automobile engineering we are going to see some changes like electric vehicles or hybrid
Mhm.
electric vehicles by 2030. So
Mhm.
what is the scope for AI and ML engineers?
Yeah. So for hybrid vehicles or completely electrified vehicles, the scope of AI ML engineer and even the mechanical engineer belongs to, suppose if I want to predict the performance of battery which is being used in electrified vehicle. So if I want to
Yes.
predict its performance and its charging percentage, then you can build a machine learning model for that. Even for hybrid vehicles, if I want to predict the performance of the hybrid drive, which is maybe an engine and the electricity, then you can go for building
Yes.
those models
Okay.
with
Thank you,
respect to
sir.
variation in the temp, because see, the battery temperature will be varying in the electrified vehicles. So based on
Yes, sir.
variation of the temperature, the performance of battery can be predicted and the battery can be replaced, or the fault occurring in the battery will be predicted well in advance, and thus the fault
Yes.
can be eliminated or it can be prevented.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your response.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Please share your feedback also, which will be valuable to
Sir,
improve myself.
I think Om has to say something.
Yeah,
Uh, Hello, sir.
Ravande Om.
Yes, sir. Sir, I want to ask. I have read your paper about that milling cutters and also about one about the lathe machine project. So I want to ask, sir, when the vibration in machine comes when tool or something, what we say that the stock is not fitted properly. So some vibration gets there. So how come the machine learning approach can process to this type of things, sir? Can
Yes,
you?
so that is why I'm saying, see, locating your before locating the sensor, selection of sensor is very important. So you have to select such sensor which is very sensitivity and range of that sensor should match with the requirement. This is first thing. Second thing, its location. The source of, you have to identify the source of vibration and you have to locate the accelerometer or any kind of sensor with respect to specified orientation and even its location. So with respect to that, if is there any problem occurs with location of sensor or its orientation, obviously the signal which is being captured may not be the correct signal. So that is why it is very important to fix all these things before you are acquiring the data. The another thing is you are saying some other type of vibration if it is being captured during the process. What we can do? We can go for some of the techniques where the filters are applied. If you go for wavelet transform, which is based on time frequency domain. Using wavelet transform, decomposition of signal and denoising of signal will be performed, where a high pass filter and low pass filter will be used to eliminate some of the frequency components which are not required, and only useful components will be picked up. So this is how you can go for denoising or decomposition of signal, so that only correct data will be captured.
Yes, sir.
Is this correct answer? Like what you were expected?
Yes, sir. And sir, is it possible to stop the machine there and there on the uh, without filtering?
Yes. So what we can do is we have to go for adaptive control. Machine learning model develop केल्यानंतर we have to go for adaptive control based on action or based on prediction of machine learning model. If it is not desirable, then you can go for adaptive control where the feedback will be used, and that based on that feedback the machine will be stopped. If it does not matches with the desired output, then the feedback will be used, it will be detected, and then the machine will be stopped. So which is called as adaptive control.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Again it goes to control system engineering, closed loop control system. So you must have knowledge of control system also.
Uh, okay, sir. I am very what we call means enjoyed attending this session. This was one of the session that I could not miss, sir.
Thank
And
you.
personally, I wanted to meet you, but due to this, I can't meet. But sir, I am very excited.
Thank you. You are from which branch?
Sir,
Which is-
metallurgy and material science, but I have finished my technical education in field of mechanical maintenance.
Okay.
So,
Acha, you are working somewhere.
no, sir, I am a BTech student only, means in
Okay.
third year, but in
Which
11th
year?
and
Third year. Okay. Okay.
yes, sir, but I have done my technical education,
Very good.
Tantra Shikshan in this.
Very
So
good.
I love this domain, sir. Thank you,
Very
sir.
good. Very good. Keep practicing all these projects. You know, the actually I missed one point. The some of the data, ready-made data, is available on some of the websites. What I will do, I will share that share those links to Vaishnavi. She will share it to you all. Okay, so you can get the automatic the ready-made data from the websites, and from that data you can play with that data. I mean, you can make machine learning based models, and then you can use it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, sir. There are some questions in the chat box.
Chat box. Okay.
Sir. Some
Okay.
Manish
Can you read
K.
it?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Can
sir.
you read it?
Yes, sir. I am asking on behalf of them.
Yeah.
Sir, Manish is
नाव
asking.
सांग आणि हां
Manish K is asking, how can
हां.
AI be implemented in FEA and CFD analysis?
Okay, so now in FEA or in CFD analysis, suppose if you are dealing with finite element analysis, so to decide mid size or the assumptions which are made in the finite element analysis, or how to superimpose your model, small model to the complete system, all this decision now at this point will be taken by ourselves. So instead of that, if we have some data and some applications where we know that these assumptions can be made, this meshing size or meshing type can be used, and the superimposement of the small model on the complete system is done. So based on this, we can build a machine learning model, and then automatically all the decisions will be taken by that algorithm. So this is how it can be used in finite element analysis, and even for model analysis or static structural analysis, the stress distribution and these all things, for analyzing all these things, the assumptions and the inputs which we are giving, and the decisions, based on the decisions we are making, that can be replaced using machine learning algorithm. Next one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Another question in the chat box. Om Bhandari is asking, how can a mechanical engineer cope up with the software part of AI ML as they are virtually opposite, or like they are related very less with each other?
Very nice question. See, if you want to be if you want to work on the projects of machine learning and AI based applications for mechanical engineering, do not worry about coding part and plus the knowledge of classifiers parts and so on. You must concentrate on which data must be collected, from which sensor it must be collected, how it can be analyzed, how can be pattern will be recognized, how a machine learning model will be trained, how hyperparameter changing will affect the performance of that model, and how to map input and output correctly. This is the main goal of mechanical engineering. See, mechanical engineer will work as an application engineer in the domain of AI and ML, not as programmer or a person who is doing the coding. So my this is the misconception everybody from the everybody has, um, because everybody think that machine learning is all about coding, it is all about programming, it is all about algorithms and so on. It is really not. For application engineer, it is a process where you have to follow the building blocks of developing a model. So where you must have the knowledge of instrumentation, complete mechanical system, the parameters which are affecting mechanical system. You must have good knowledge of faults which are occurring, or the target values. You must have the good knowledge of those targeted values. Here we have considered faults. It can be a temperature variation, it can be a noise variation, or it can be anything. Then you must have good knowledge of control systems. then you should have good knowledge of signal processing and so on. So you must concentrate on this fields. So briefly saying, you have to concentrate on complete process rather than only algorithms. So even if you have less knowledge of algorithm, that is fine. We have computer engineers for those coding and algorithm part. And even software like MATLAB and Weka really do not require coding. They have their own graphic user interfaces from which you can develop a machine learning model. Yes, next question.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, with your permission, I would like to read a few comments.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Sonali ma'am is saying that the session was excellent, informative, and very well presented. She's also thankful for the same.
Okay.
And also, Sumit sir is saying that the session was excellent and the basic knowledge given along with the examples were very easy to understand. Makaran Dharmadikari sir is saying that the session was really good, and also he has suggested that the MEC students must explore in this area as far as possible.
Yeah. Just a minute,
And
Sonali. Vaishnavi. Who is talking? Vaishnavi, right?
yes, sir.
Yeah, Vaishnavi, I would like to introduce Makaran Dharmadikari sir to everyone because he is a COEP student, mechanical COEP student, graduated in year 2000. And after that, he has worked in near about 10 to 15 companies on the managerial level. Okay, he has worked in Bosch, he has worked in Foresia, he has worked in Syngenta. Recently, he's working with Honeywell. And he's really, very good technical oriented person. He's a very good friend of mine. Thank you, Dharmadikari sir, for attending this session, and he is always suggesting me for delivering such kind of emerging techniques to my students. So thank you, Dharmadikari sir, for your valuable comment. Thank you so much. Vaishnavi, you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. So the last comment is from Pratik Bandre, and I think this is a question which says that how to read AI, how to learn AI and ML means which are the resources we have to use to learn it, or which courses we can follow for the same.
Okay, I will share the links to you, Vaishnavi. You can share it to all. I'll share
Yes, sir.
the
Okay, sir.
useful books also and some of the courses with which if you get training of those courses, it will be sufficient to deal with the projects of AI ML applications in machine learning. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. So now, with your permission, I think we will head towards the end of today's session.
Yeah.
And sir, I am more than grateful to you, sir, for your valuable presence and the words which were so enlightening. So we are more than grateful. And also, I would like to thank all the attendees, the coordinators, and the whole team of Metablogs for making this event happening today. So with your permission, I would like to end the today's session.
Thank you so much, Vaishnavi. Sorry from my side because I had some technical glitch because of the poor internet connection. Sorry for that. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
So much. Hope
Thank you
to
very
have
much, sir.
association with you all in near future. Feel free to contact me at any time. We have very good projects we are dealing with currently. I need good technical resources as a student resources for those projects. So you are always welcome. Thank you.
Thank
May
you
I
so
leave
much,
now?
sir. Yes, sir.
Vaishnavi, can you collect the feedback from all the attendees? Is it possible? So that
Okay,
you can also analyze the the expert talks, because the feedbacks from everybody is really helpful for me to improve my presentation and even the contents of my presentation. So if you could collect the feedback from possible attendees, I would be grateful.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
Yeah, thank you. May I leave now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you.